Every major chip company wants an alternative to TSMC. Apple, NVIDIA, AMD, Qualcomm, even Intel. Not because they don't trust TSMC, but because depending on a single manufacturer is one of the biggest risks in the global technology industry. The problem is, no one has been able to replace it. Not Samsung. Not Intel. Not even government spending hundreds of billions of dollars to rebuild semiconductor manufacturing. So why? What does TSMC have that others still can't match? Is it better technology? Better factories? Or has TSMC built a competitive advantage that took decades to create, and may take decades to replicate? That's exactly what we'll uncover in this video. TSMC doesn't compete with Apple. It doesn't compete with NVIDIA. Or AMD. Its customers compete with each other. And that's exactly what makes TSMC unique. Instead of building its own chips, TSMC manufactures chips for nearly every major semiconductor company. That means some of the world's fiercest competitors all rely on the same manufacturing partner. If TSMC falls behind, the entire industry slows down. But if everyone depends on TSMC, why hasn't another company stepped in to become the second choice? Relying on a single manufacturer is risky. Every chip company knows that. A production delay, a natural disaster, or rising geopolitical tensions could disrupt the global technology supply chain. That's why companies have spent years looking for alternatives. Samsung wants to expand its foundry business. Intel is investing heavily to win external customers. Governments are pouring billions into domestic semiconductor manufacturing. The goal is the same. Reduce the world's dependence on TSMC. But after all these years, why is TSMC still the industry's first choice? Most people think TSMC's business is making chips. It isn't. The chips belong to companies like Apple, NVIDIA, AMD, and Qualcomm. TSMC doesn't design them. It manufactures them. At first glance, that may not sound like a big difference. But in the semiconductor industry, manufacturing is often harder than designing. Anyone can buy advanced equipment. Building a manufacturing system that consistently produces millions of defect-free chips, that's a completely different challenge. And that's where TSMC built its biggest advantage. Many people assume TSMC leads because it has the best machines. But that's only part of the story. Samsung can buy the same EUV lithography systems. Intel can buy the same equipment. In fact, many of the world's leading chip makers use machines from the same suppliers. So if everyone has access to similar tools, why are the results so different? Because in semiconductor manufacturing, the machine is only the beginning. The real advantage comes from knowing how to make every step of the process work together, consistently, efficiently, and at scale. And that's where TSMC begins to pull away. In semiconductor manufacturing, not every chip that comes off a wafer actually works. Some contain tiny defects. Others fail performance tests. The percentage of working chips is called yield. And even a small improvement in yield can change everything. Higher yield means more working chips from the same wafer. Lower production costs. Higher profit margins. And more reliable deliveries for customers. That's why yield isn't just a manufacturing metric. It's a competitive advantage. And for years, TSMC has consistently achieved yields that are extremely difficult to match. But yield doesn't improve by accident. It comes from something even more valuable. Building a semiconductor fab takes money. Improving yield takes experience. Every production run generates new data. Every defect reveals another lesson. Every improvement becomes part of a manufacturing process refined over decades. That knowledge can't be purchased with new equipment. It can't be copied overnight. And it can't be accelerated simply by spending more money. This is why catching up with TSMC is so difficult. Competitors aren't just building new factories. They're trying to recreate decades of manufacturing experience. And in this industry, time is one advantage no company can buy. No semiconductor company succeeds alone. TSMC depends on equipment from companies like ASML, Applied Materials, Lam Research, and KLA. It also relies on software from Cadence and Synopsys. At the same time, companies like Apple, NVIDIA, AMD, and Qualcomm depend on TSMC to manufacture their most advanced chips. This creates a powerful ecosystem. The more customers TSMC attracts, the more experience it gains. The more experience it gains, the more customers choose TSMC. It's a cycle that keeps reinforcing itself. And that's exactly why replacing TSMC means replacing far more than just one company. Choosing a chip manufacturer isn't like changing suppliers. Every chip is optimized for a specific manufacturing process. Moving to another foundry means validating the design all over again. It takes time. It costs money. And more importantly, it introduces risk. A lower yield, production delays, or a failed product launch. For companies shipping millions of chips every year, those risks can cost far more than any potential savings. That's why customers don't stay with TSMC simply because they want to. They stay because leaving is often the bigger risk. TSMC was already a manufacturing leader before the AI boom. Artificial intelligence didn't create its advantage. It amplified it. Training modern AI models requires enormous computing power. That means more advanced GPUs, more complex chip designs, and higher manufacturing standards than ever before. For companies racing to lead the AI revolution, there is little room for production mistakes. They need high yields, reliable execution, and the confidence that millions of chips can be delivered on schedule. As AI pushes semiconductor manufacturing to new limits, the companies that already trust TSMC have even fewer reasons to leave. If any company has the resources to challenge TSMC, it's Samsung. Samsung has world-class engineers, access to advanced EUV lithography, and decades of semiconductor manufacturing experience. On paper, it has everything needed to compete. But manufacturing leadership isn't measured by specifications. It's measured by execution. Can you deliver consistently? Can you achieve high yields? Can customers trust you with their most advanced chips? So far, those are the questions that continue to separate Samsung from TSMC. Intel is one of the greatest engineering companies in semiconductor history. Today, it's trying to do something few companies have ever attempted: build chips for other companies. The strategy is ambitious. The investment is enormous. And if it succeeds, the industry could finally have another leading-edge foundry. But catching up isn't just about building new factories. It's about earning customer confidence, proving consistent execution, and delivering high yields, year after year. Intel may have the technology to compete. The bigger question is whether it can build the manufacturing reputation that TSMC has spent decades earning. China has made remarkable progress in semiconductor manufacturing. It has invested hundreds of billions of dollars, developed domestic equipment, and continued advancing despite export restrictions. There's no question that China's chip industry is becoming stronger. But replacing TSMC is a very different challenge. Leading-edge manufacturing demands years of process refinement, consistently high yields, and the trust of the world's largest chip designers. Those are advantages that cannot be built overnight. China may eventually become a much stronger competitor. But for now, replacing TSMC remains one of the hardest challenges in the semiconductor industry. No company is unbeatable. And TSMC is no exception. Its greatest strength is also its biggest risk. Much of its most advanced manufacturing remains concentrated in Taiwan. That means geopolitical tensions, natural disasters, or major supply chain disruptions could affect not just TSMC, but the entire global technology industry. That's why TSMC is expanding production in countries like the United States and Japan. Not because its technology is losing its edge, but because its customers want a more resilient supply chain. The question is no longer whether TSMC can build great chips. It's whether it can build the same manufacturing excellence around the world. So far, we've explained why TSMC is so difficult to replace. But every investment thesis needs evidence. And that's where the financials matter. Year after year, TSMC has delivered strong revenue growth, industry-leading profitability, and billions of dollars in free cash flow. These aren't just impressive numbers. They're the financial result of high yields, trusted customer relationships, and decades of manufacturing excellence. In other words, the business performs exactly the way its competitive advantage suggests it should. And that's why the market has consistently placed a premium on TSMC. Investors don't pay premium valuation simply because a company is successful. They pay a premium when they believe that success can continue. That's exactly how the market views TSMC. Its customers trust it. Its manufacturing leadership has proven difficult to replicate. And the demand for advanced chips continues to grow. That doesn't mean TSMC's stock will always go up. It means the market is willing to assign a higher valuation to a business with durable competitive advantages and more predictable long-term earnings. The real question isn't whether TSMC deserves a premium. The real question is, how much of that premium is already reflected in today's price? Every great business has one thing in common. Its stock price doesn't move in a straight line. It moves between optimism, fair expectations, and periods of pessimism. That's exactly how I value TSMC. Rather than predicting a single target price, I use 3 valuation zones. A conservative value, representing periods when market sentiment becomes overly pessimistic. A historical fair value, reflecting what the business has been worth under normal market conditions. And an optimistic value, representing periods when investors are willing to pay a premium for future growth. These are not price predictions. They are a framework for understanding where today's market price sits within TSMC's long-term valuation range. Over the past few minutes, we've explored what makes TSMC one of the strongest businesses in the semiconductor industry. Its technology, its manufacturing excellence, its customer relationships, and the competitive advantages that have been built over decades. But great businesses and great investments are not always the same thing. That's why understanding the business is only the first step. The next step is understanding what the market is already pricing into the stock. Great companies deserve great analysis. Great investments depend on the price you pay. And that's why. Understand the business before you value the stock. So, why can nobody replace TSMC? Because this company isn't defined by a single technology or a single factory. Its true advantage was built over decades. One generation of innovation after another. One customer relationship after another. One manufacturing breakthrough after another. That's why replacing TSMC isn't simply a matter of spending more money or building more fabs. It's about replicating decades of execution at a level the industry has rarely seen. And until someone can do that, TSMC will remain one of the most important companies powering the future of technology. As always, this video is not financial advice. Please do your own research before making any investment decisions. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below.